It's not just a theory, it's a furry theory. Thanks for yiffing. I'm done. I'm fucking done. Hello everybody, this is SeetherTalks and welcome to my 7th installment of my SeetherTalks series here on YouTube. Also, I just want to say thank you guys so much for us surpassing 200 subs and still growing. This is still blowing my mind extremely, and I just want to say thank you to every single one of you that subscribed. It means a lot to me. Now, for today's episode of SeetherTalks, we're going to be going back into the furry community and not talk about YouTube drama and the fact that majority of YouTubers are now going to have to go onto the streets potentially. But today we're going to instead talk about a thought that has come into my mind that I feel like could potentially be a true factor that could become a lot more noticeable within the coming time. So I wanted to really speak about it today. And that topic includes the aspect of the furry community becoming more so in the mainstream. And I know that sounds like the most hipster thing imaginable, just gonna get my fedora right here and just, get all the internet trolls on me like,
This video is for all you stupid fucking trolls and haters online, saying mean and hurtful things about fedoras. Well, guess what? They rule harder than you, dipshits.
But I'm seriously not more so saying this in a negative light, but I will say it's a more so alarming kind of reason for it being so mainstream these days. But let me just explain for you. You're gonna think I'm like freaking Onision when I say that.
I got so sick of those mainstream clothes. Well, obviously they're too mainstream for me.
So, you're a hipster.
I'm not part of the whole mainstream sellout hipster thing. I'm original.
Haha, Onision scares me. Now, I think majority of us within the furry community can be aware of the fact that the furry fandom has grown more so in popularity over the past few years compared to the past, I'd say, decade of its existence. Now, I want to say on a more positive and uplifting note that the media, I feel, even though not completely, is starting to be slightly more positive towards the furry community than it's originally been known to do so. Some people may agree or disagree, but that's just what I personally think on that matter. And the reason why I want to mention this whole thing with it going in more popularity is going to relate to my old Brony days. Because if you guys didn't know, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was a Brony and I was very vocal about it. And more that if I think about my Brony days, I more so cringe about it. Not more so because I was a Brony, but just because of how my reasoning for being in there is why I really didn't feel so, proud of that as I am for being a furry.
I am a Brony, proud to admit, don't care what the people say.
I want to die.
Now, as time goes by, I more so think the reason as to why I really became a Brony was because of the fact that it was trending at the time, and I thought it would be kind of a good idea to bandwagon, I guess, which, if you ask me, I don't think bandwagoning is a good idea at all. So I thought if I bandwagon and join, I could be a part of these other, guys who would be like, I'm not gonna fit the stereotype of what guys are supposed to be into, which I'm not saying is a bad thing at all. Breaking gender stereotypes is a good thing. But when I remember about when I used to interact with other bronies in the fandom, be it online, there honestly felt, for me personally, a kind of like a shallow feel to it. Like, it didn't feel as fulfilling talking to those people in the Brony community as I did for the furry community. I don't know why exactly, but I think the best guess I could make is more so I felt a more connection with the people in the furry community. They felt more genuine, and it felt like it was more so built off of the furry community being built off of the concept of our own original, artworks and interest in creations, while the Brony community, not saying it's bad that they were into it together, it's just that they're being more so brought together by something that it's a little small group is making, like for a TV show. I will say personally, the more time I spend enjoy being a furry, the more I dislike my time as a Brony. And from what I hear about the Brony community these days, since I left 2 years ago, I've been hearing a bunch of people say the Brony community is falling apart and it's dying out. Like, the conventions are not happening anymore for Bronies, and the people who created the My Little Pony show and the Bronies themselves are blocking each other on Twitter and such, and as well as the Bronies saying the show sucks now and it's never been the way it used to be. And it's sad to see a fandom like that die out, and by the time I left the Brony community, I had a feeling deep down that was eventually what was going to happen, because of the fact that the Brony community is built off of a concept of being fans of a form of media or a creation of media. And then eventually when the show ends or the show just decreases in quality, the community just dies out. I was going to think either that or the community would still go strong after the show ended by having their own like spin-off series or creations of artworks to keep it going. I don't know. And that's why I feel like the furry community means a lot more to me than the brony community, because we're not a community that's built off of a certain form of media. We don't need that to stay alive. We have our own forms of artwork. We have our own forms of music and character designs and ideas and, videos and dances and all of that. And to go back to the whole aspect of the furry community becoming more mainstream, the reason as to why I feel so worried about it and like it's stuck in my mind is because when I feel that once it becomes so mainstream, I feel that there's going to be a lot of posers, as well, like people who are not really actually furries, that are more so doing it just to say, hey, I'm a furry because this is popular right now. And then once those people who are, posers mix in with people that are actually furries and they start interacting, that could cause problems because they're not actually people that are that passionate about furries as the real ones. Because I feel that up until now, when the furry community wasn't as popular, they were all just genuine people that were into the furry community. But now I feel if it becomes mainstream, it's going to eventually have a bunch of people that aren't actually that interested in it, and they're just going to be posers and get involved with it, and it mixes it up all wrong. And that makes me connect it back to when I was a brony, with myself not actually being that into it and then just kind of forcing myself into there. And I feel like that could also be a reason as to why the brony community died out, because I feel like there was also a lot of posers, because when I joined, it was very relevant at the time. And I guess that I joined at the point of where people weren't mixing that well in the community, and it kind of was at its worst point in the community. And I'm not saying that this is what's happening. This is just my own theory. I could be completely wrong for all we know. But I just want to say that I have a feeling in the back of my head that this is something that is happening, and it could eventually spiral into that. Not denying the furry community is way, way more popular, and people are way more aware of it these days than they used to be. And that is the truth, but I could be completely wrong about the community being destroyed by a bunch of posers, but I could be right at the same time. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. So if you have to ask me on what to really do with this whole thing, just stick to what you're passionate about, don't bandwagon, and stick to doing things that you do because you want to do them, not because that's what everyone else wants to do. Don't be a sheep. So that's pretty much been this episode of SeetherTalks for today. Sorry if this has more so been like a theorized kind of episode or so. But once again, thank you all so much for watching this episode of SeetherTalks. I want to say again, thank you so much for the 200 plus subscribers, and we're still going strong. Thank you guys so much. Let's keep it going. As well as, if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. It'll help out this channel a lot, like you guys already are, so please keep it up. And as well as, if you enjoyed my content and you're interested in seeing more, please subscribe if you haven't already. And that's pretty much been this episode of SeetherTalks. I've been SeetherCord, and I will see you guys in another video. So goodbye, everyone.